Hello everyone. Very often when we study Chumash or the Parsha, we're drawn to the meanings and the lessons behind the narratives, the stories that appear in the Chumash. In truth, though, we have so much to learn also from the laws, the halachot and the mitzvot that appear in the Chumash, some of whom are not even developed in the Gemara. Parashat Mishpatim provides us with an almost unrivaled opportunity to study the halachot of Chumash, the mitzvot, and to try to learn messages and values from them. Since I'm sharing this Dvar Torah from Maimonides, the Maimonides Kehillah and the Maimonides school, I thought it would be nice to share a Dvar Torah which has within it some parshanut of the Rambam, Maimonides, to this week's Parsha. People often don't think of the Rambam as a parshan to Chumash, but as the Rabbi Zatzal notes in his book, the Torah interpretation and the connection between the biblical laws and the mitzvot is a major leitmotif of the Rambam's Mishnah Torah, and it is a worthwhile place to look at for Parshanut HaMikra. The Torah teaches towards the beginning of this week's Parsha, V'chi yazid ish al re'ehu lehargo be'orma, if God forbid somebody should plot to take the life of a fellow Jew intentionally, Me'im mizbechi tikachenu lamos. This individual, even if they are standing at the mizbeach, they deserve the death penalty. Murder is a capital offense in Judaism. And me'im mizbechi tikachenu lamud, even the altar's kedusha is not sufficient to save someone from the death penalty. All the major commentaries and the Gemara in Yuma, Daf Pei Hey Amud Aleph, all take this pasuk to be teaching us an extension of the sixth commandment, that God forbid if somebody is a murderer, being at the mizbeach doesn't protect them. Amazingly though, the Rambam has a totally different interpretation of the pasuk, one that is not found in the other parshanim and not found in the Gemara as well. The Rambam at the end of the fifth parak of Hilchos Rotzeach explains, Mi shepachad min hamelech, somebody who is scared of the king, shelo yahargenu, that the king might take the life of this individual, midin hamalchus, using the king's extra legal power to enforce law and order, or mi beis din shelo yargu b'horat shah, or the court is issuing a special horat shah, a special external one-time death sentence for this person, uvarach lemizbeach v'nismachlo, and the person runs away to the Beis Hamikdash, to the mizbeach, afilu hayazar, even if the person isn't a kohen, harei ze nitzol, this individual is saved by the kedusha, by the power of the mizbeach. Essentially, what the Rambam is telling us is that in addition to the familiar institution of miklat, where an accidental murderer can run away for protection, there's an additional rule. There's an additional rule that if there is an unchecked tyrannical king running through the countrysides of Yehudah, taking the lives of individuals, not according to the official rules of the death penalty, but seemingly for extra-legal one-time purposes, somebody can run away to the Beis Hamikdash, run away to the mizbeach, and the mizbeach provides a protection for that individual. This Rambam is so shocking that it seems to go against the Gemara. The Kesef Mishnah says that the Gemara in Makos, Yud Beis and Aleph, seems to interpret this pasuk differently. But the Aruch HaShulchan at the end of Choshen Mishpat says the Rambam source is actually a pasuk in Navi. Right after David dies, Yoav is worried that Shlomo might take his life, and Yoav runs away to the Mizbeach in order to get this special protection. Now, in the end, it doesn't work for Yoav because Yoav was an intentional killer and Shlomo had rights to take his life. But from the very fact that Yoav ran to the Beis Hamikdash, the Rambam deduces that the Mizbeach has this incredible power to save someone from a king who is trying to take their life. Why is it so important to think about the Mizbeach's capacity to protect somebody running away from the king? So one of the concerns about Judaism is that sometimes we make an unfair distinction between ritual in Judaism and civil functions in Judaism. Oftentimes we make an unfair distinction with priests who are only functioning on our religious ritual and our connection with God, versus kings who are focused on building a society in our interaction and our connection with each other. Perhaps some of us have lived in Galus in America for too long, where the First Amendment trains us and encourages us to think that religion and civil society are totally distinct. But indeed, when we think about Judaism more deeply, we realize that the two, ritual and civil, have much more in common than we think. The Kohen Gadol's role in Ir Miklat more generally, or the complex role of the Nasi in both society and ritual at the end of Yechezkel, proves this point. It's so telling and interesting that this special power of the mizbeach's ability to protect people, even in a civil function, is put by the Torah not in Sefer Vayikra, where we learn about the Beis HaMikdash, but in Parashat Mishpatim, where we learn about civil law. The Rambam also did not codify the law that we've learned together in Hilchos Beis HaBechira, where he talks about the Beis HaMikdash. The Rambam codifies it in Hilchos Rotzeach, in the section in which he puts the civil law of death and also murder. It's almost as if the Torah is trying to teach us that we shouldn't think that the Beis HaMikdash only has a role in one section and area of Judaism, that the Beis HaMikdash is only about our connection to Hashem, but that when we interact with other Jews, or when we try to build a society, the central focus of that is only with the king. At the beginning of Parshat Shoftim, the Kamta ve'alisa el makom asher amar Hashem, makom asher yivchar Hashem, shows us that the Beis HaMikdash has a role in building the society. Because ritual and the place that we connect to Hashem, the mizbeach, that our korbanot and our tefillot go up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is the same exact place that is central to our building of our society, to our formation of our government, and making sure that we are able to protect each other and live well in a society. Now, this amazing Dvar Torah has taught us a lot about the Rambam as a parshan. It's taught us about the role that Navi can play in teaching us and explaining to us Chumash, the importance of studying the mitzvot of the Torah, and also the division of roles, or perhaps the lack thereof, in a Jewish society.